Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard to WOR and the Legacy Division. We're here for another exciting round of racing. This is our first of the mystery circuits taking place here around number 6 of this season of Legacy Division. Thank you very much for being alongside us for this one. It is myself, Jota, alongside my usual co-commentator for this event. Joseph is back. Thank you very much for being alongside us for this one. We are at our first mystery circuit of this season, and as we take a look at the calendar, we get our full confirmation of the situation that's happening around us here. We are for the first of our 2 mystery circuits at Singapore.
Absolutely, the wheel has chosen, much like what we've been seeing across the board for our PC Tier 2 and Console Tier 1 seasons. Every track in those calendars have been randomised, but indeed just 2 on this season's Legacy Division calendar to contend with. We've eliminated all of the circuits and got ourselves left with Singapore. A very difficult one, always challenging to overtake, a high downforce frenzy, the longest race we'll have on this season's calendar as well by race distance, but the modifications in recent years have opened it up to be potentially a little more exciting.
Yeah, certainly did. And speaking of exciting, the standings showing to be getting increasingly more exciting as well. There's only 40 points separating the top 3 at the moment between AMR, RSC and SCI. Ventauri are tucked in behind on 133 with FRT in 5th. ETA are having an absolutely abysmal season so far with 125 down in 6th. Grand Track 10 are finally breaking the 100 barrier mark to get to 101. BRC are 78, tied with the International Racing Team 8th and 9th. Fastest Stay True really struggling down at the foot of the field on 65 points. Drivers tonight worth making note because we've got a little bit of housekeeping in order for this event. Volakongan and Dirk racing tonight for SCI. Azim and Ryder Dahl ET8 are both serving a qualifying ban tonight. More about that in a second. Quantum and Adrian FRT, Epic Vale and Ray down at RSC. Nico Spinoda at Ventauri, Ticho Tiago, the 2 T's at AMR with Dimat and Passy over at BRC. Ozan and Esco both serving qualifying bans as well for Fastest Stay True. More about that one in a second, as well as more about Mad Dogs as well, serving a 3-place grid penalty for Grand Track 10. Tony is on his own here tonight without that qualifying sort of penalty, and qualifying ban for Phil here tonight as well with Mulder at IRT, the only person qualifying here at Singapore. We get straight into the action then because it is just a short qualifying event, of course, in this event, but more of a sense of normality, we think, for what has been a very chaotic season of a Legacy Division.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know it's a mystery circuit, but this is your real first taste of what an actual normal Grand Prix is going to look like. Obviously, we had F2 at the start of the season, the 4s straight after in Austria, followed by Reverse Grid Championship in the Netherlands and in Monza. Last week in Mexico, we banned the hard compound tyres, which was a great race, I must say. Lots of overtaking across the board. And now, well, we're back to that usual level of strategy, a normal-ish qualifying, despite all of the qualifying bans. But yeah, a chance really for our usual pecking order to shine. SCI, of course, favourites here this evening at the top of the table. They've got a podium in all but 1 rounds this season, despite all of the challenges, I should say, that they face. So, yeah, again, they're your immediate favourites. But how can the likes of RSC and AMR, the 2 teams that have got really, really close, actually, to SCI in this title race, how can they capitalise on a normal Grand Prix round? Can they make a statement?
Yeah, and can this man also make a statement as well? Tony Reich, uncle for GT10. He has had a fabulous entry into Grand Track 10, of course, managing to get not just 1 but 2 race victories to take up their total race victory count to 3 in the Legacy Division. Of course, 2 back in in season 4, 2 in this season. What a showing he's had over at GT10. He's definitely the firm favourite, if you will, within Grand Track 10's roster, and happy to be racing as part of the Singapore Grand Prix here tonight. You know, what is the expectation here from Uncle? It's surely going to be doing what he did at the double rounds that we had at the reverse track.
Yeah, indeed, and well, bringing him back in, of course, he did have the advantage with GT10's position in the table back when we did race in Monza in Italy, that he was starting higher up the grid, but ultimately he did manage to capitalise. But we know he has the qualifying pace as well. He should be right up there. There's, I'll say that, he makes a little bit of an error through the old Singapore sling and over the Anderson Bridge, but yeah, we know he has the qualifying pace. We know he's been performing really, really well as well over in the console tier 1 side of things. Back-to-back podiums and top of the championship at the moment. So again, he'll be able to mix it in right there with the big boys. And well, let's see if he can bring home another victory for GT10.
Yeah, critical stuff here for GT10. If they can try and get another one, then they can actually start closing down on the midfield for the first time in their illustrious career. That is in their legacy division. As he comes across line, goes fastest of everyone so far, 1:27.310. Make note that this is a short qualifying event, folks. So this is a full, well, let's say a full 20-car shootout. Isn't really, is it? It's a 15-car shootout for pole here. Quantum going fastest as well. That's the driver for the Future Racing team. Very, very disappointing season so far from FRT. We're expecting more from them, I think, weren't we, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, that Monaco round, a little bit of an anomaly. I must say they did brilliantly in the reverse grid race with Rev Caterpillar, who held on to victory superbly. But ever since then, nothing really to write home about other than the P3 in Monza. Need to be aiming a little bit higher than that if they don't want to lose touch with that top 3 race in this championship, which is we know they are more than capable of doing. They automatically qualified for this season's tournament, of course, and well, it's a really, really strong start from Quantum. We've got 4 cars out there that are yet to set a lap time. One of those is AMR Tiago, and well, Ticho hasn't had a brilliant start to the sessions. Let's see if Tiago can make amends to that. He's run out of harvesting going into the final chicane. Car not responding to that inside apex of what is essentially the penultimate corner. Maybe just really, really low on the ride height, and indeed now the slowest lap time as well. So a lot of improvement required now for AMR. Yeah, pretty significant bottoming out over the curb from Tiago there. What an opportunity potentially on the horizons as it stands anyway for AMR, because Volakongan is the fastest of the SCI drivers in P6. Dirk is in P9. If AMR can capitalise here and start working with each other towards the front here, they can close down that 20-point deficit at the top of the field in what is turning out to be a season of not particular ease at the moment for the Shizou Cedar Igniters. They've formed a little bit all over the place at the moment here, so opportunities galore as we're following Grand Track 10's Mad Dogs, who's actually nursing his car into the pit lane. Looks like he's actually ran out of fuel. Has the GT10 man, which is not particularly helpful in a short qualifying event, to say the least. Two of the drivers yet to set a lap at the moment. Both of the Bravo Racing Club drivers yet to set a lap, but Demat is just now leaving the pit lane, and he'll be the sole man on circuit here, other than the Ferrari man of Tiago, who will be no doubt diving into the pit lane. So opportunity for a bit of clean air now here for Demat to see what the Bravo Racing Club can do. Yeah, one of only 2 teams, BRC, not to secure a podium so far this season. They'll be eyeing up that FST podium from a few weeks ago and going, we should be up there, we should be fighting. And with, again, 5 qualifying bans this evening and grid penalties to come, it is their chance to get themselves up the starting grid order. Just back to SCI quickly, this is really reminding me of their start to Season 5, you know, and they got all those P2s consecutively. They are there for the taking. And again, AMR... you quite rightly say, need to be looking at that and going, come on, we need to be up there. We need to be trying to pick up the wins, pick up the pieces wherever possible. But, you know, I imagine this track to suit Volakongan quite well. It's a really long race, a long stint. He can really nurse those tyres a long, long way into the race. So this qualifying spot at the moment might not mean too much in the grand scheme of things, but say that about most races, and particularly last week where well, RSC came through from, what was it, 6th and 12th? Yeah, something like that. In the end of the day, the RSC team have got a bit of a point to prove themselves. Of course, 40-point deficit for AMR to SCI, 20-point deficit with RSC at the moment, who have proven that they are now a front-facing team at the moment. And what a rise up the standings it's actually been for the team represented in the Mercedes outfit. Epic Vale and RW06 currently 5th and 7th respectively. What have RSC got to do here? Because, you know, it's been, you know, pretty much the SCI ETA train perhaps for the last couple of seasons.
happens is we've got Demat losing the rear, and he'll probably abandon that lap entirely on this occasion. But, what is this? What have RSC got to do? Because it's clear that they've broken into the front field. Our ET8 have fallen off a cliff a little bit here. I think mainly due to the aging squad that they've got. They've not really diversified their squad with young talent, and they're paying the price for it at the moment. And RSC are coming through and showing that they are, the team that are going to put the biggest challenge perhaps to SCI at the moment.
Yeah, RSC, I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward, but keep doing what you're doing because, again, their roster is absolutely fantastic. I mean, bringing back Enzo Sabaton for a start, the PC Tier 3 champion from last season, tempting him back over into console, and him really doing a lot of the work last week was about what they needed, and they can't rely on him every week. We know how those roster rules work, but I think that presence, certainly when they do practice and whatever they do to prepare for these races, is certainly helping them. So yeah, just stay united in this process because it's still way more than half the season to go. You've got the rotations that are really going to help you. Another race of banning hards, another mystery. So still so much more to play for. I'm just watching. What on earth was that? The final corner from D Matijev. As he just slides again. So turn one and the final corner, a hideous lap time. It's into the 30s.
Yeah, BRC struggling at the moment as well. It doesn't look like Passy's doing any further inroads either at the moment. And BRC, the team currently down in the midst of the midfield, are trying to break the 100-point marker. Currently tied with IRT at the moment in the standings. There's the big tank slapper, and he's lost it straight into the wall as well, I believe. Backhander in a very Lance Stroll-esque situation for him. As he comes across line 133.9 after spinning his car. BRC really struggling out there, as is Mad Dogs as well. The GT10 man still without a lap time, and he's invalidated his last attempt as well. 7 and a bit minutes to go under a quite amount of significant pressure. SCI have managed to get themselves up into the front row though, as it stands in front of RW06 for RSC, but behind Quantum, who's gone even faster for FRT at the moment with a 126.8, 0.3 of a second nearly separating him from Dirk. It's absolutely a cracking lap indeed, as your Uncle Tony Reish, has got up to P5 for GT10, but he's beaten immediately by IRT's Mulder. The track is starting to evolve.
Yeah, Quantum, then everybody else at the minute. A fantastic lap once again by the now experienced FRT man. A few stints in that team, but this so far very much has been one of his best. If you can get another pole position here for FRT this evening, they'll be thanking him very much indeed. Just back to BRC, I believe I saw Passy join the Discord yesterday, so if it's a case for these two that they've just been thrown into the deep end, then I do reserve some sympathy for them. But yeah, it's just been an absolutely hideous watch so far. Struggling in qualifying, tyres just seeming to give up, just seconds into the lap. So that doesn't bode particularly well for their race setup. I know we'll have a restart, but you'd think they're trying to climatise the setup a little bit more to coping in qualifying. Who knows what they've got lined up for the race, or whether indeed they've done any preparation for it.
Yeah, of course. Remember, the situation report is that Phil on his own has got to serve that qualifying ban for IRT, so Mulder out on his own up in P5. Good effort from him. I've got a little opinion for you here, Joseph, at the moment. AMR, they're cooking, but they forgot to turn the oven on because Ticho and Tiago down in 10th and 12th. Uncharacteristic from them. They are clearly not liking the technical circuits because they weren't very, if I remember rightly as well, they struggled a little bit at Japan in another event that was similar in the sphere of influence that is the esports teams that we've got. But Tiago and Ticho at the moment really not comfortable out there at the moment in 10th and 12th respectively. The team P3 in the standings are at risk of losing some big points against RSC and SCI here tonight if they carry on as they are.
Yeah, Ticho's just glanced the wall coming into the final sector as well. We need to get the corner numbers up. There are 23 around here, at least there were, but they've taken a few away. And he's abandoned that lap entirely, has Ticho, and so has Tiago, following him in behind. So Ticho, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a terrible lap. I mean, he's close. There are a lot of drivers currently on a 27.3, but just watching that lap again, it just felt a little bit lazy. Whether he was scheduled to come back in anyway, I don't know, but it's still not a good sign, really playing with fire. hitting the walls on your way back in. Felt a bit Lando Norris-esque when he had that huge lead back in Singapore and almost threw his entire race away. Let's hope we don't see any of that. Can Volakongan respond? He's on a flyer at the moment.
Yeah, as is Epic Vale as well. Man, we're currently following as he approaches turn 7 at the moment as well. 19 corners now, by the way, Joseph, in this one, because I think you were thinking about the underneath the bridge the part as well. Oh, I was just on board with Epic Vale. He's now just left the session entirely. So that's the end of RSC's run here with Epic Vale down in P9. It's a pretty poor event for them at the moment with the driver up and down. We're on board now with Volakongan as he comes across the line and goes up to P4. SCI have got certainly a hand on potentially a double podium as it stands with that performance, though they are split by one RSC man, but FRT's Quantum looking very strong as they look to bounce back in pretty poor form at the moment. His teammate Adrian down in P9, so Epic Vale has managed to reconnect. 3 and a bit minutes to go. Might have an opportunity for a fresh set of boots on that car as we're following DMAT now as he goes through turns number 5, and the front end looking very pointy, but that is making the rear look very unstable at the moment for the McLaren Mercedes.
Yeah, indeed. Again, a nice turning into turn there. Can keep this going now. Plenty of inside curve for turn 8. I've got my corner numbers now. Don't fear, it was turn 14 I was thinking about earlier. Here we go then in towards turn 10. Now, you've got a bit more of an opening on the inside, so a lot easier that corner. You used to just be able to take your front left off on that corner, not so much anymore. Now over the Anderson Bridge and into the hairpin, second gear. Can he plant the throttle? Yes, he can. So looking a little bit more stable in the camp of BRC. How much is he up by? Half a second at the moment. Remember, most of that would have been from his turn 1 error on his previous lap, and a lot still to come from the final corner error. Now down in towards turn 15 and a bumpy ride as you surpass the old layout entirely for the new infrastructure project that they're building on the right hand side there. Just a little touch of the wall on the exit, nothing too bad as he used all of the track available. Round in the final corner, it is an improvement, but it's a 27.8. It still doesn't really put him anywhere in the ballpark for a top 10 so far, and that might be his session done.
Yeah, not particularly fast, unfortunately, from DMAT and BRC, who are finding themselves struggling down at the back. I want to go back to Mad Dogs at the moment. He has invalidated his lap again. Has the GT10 man, whilst his teammates up in the pinnacles of P7, and they might make that P1 as Uncle Tony Reich has gone up to the fastest person on circuit, as that will hopefully instill a bit of confidence in his teammate as he completely misses his apex at turn 1. Going through turn 3, what's his exit going to be like? Oh, it's a bit hesitant, I'll be honest with you, on throttle as he now approaches the complex of turn 5. You want to make sure he doesn't mount that curb too much. Again, a little bit of bottoming out, the car washing out wide as a result. He is struggling out here as Mad Dogs, but he's got to get a lap time on the board, and I think this is going to be his do-or-die attempt, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Chucks the car over there, again bottoming out ever so slightly over the curb as he now approaches the complex set of corners throughout turns 7, 8 and 9. We saw a few people bottoming out, and that's exactly what he's done there as well. He's got no confidence in the car at the moment as Mad Dogs. That ride height, I think, is a little bit too low for him.
Yeah, his teammate Tony Reich flying now at the top of the timesheets for the purple lap time. He was about half a second off in the first sector from where he needed to be, all over the place, soaring at the wheel, coming into the hairpin at the Anderson Bridge. Now down in towards turn number 14. Again, a good entrance. The rear end just wanted to kick out there as well. So many flaws with this car at the moment. And again, perhaps one that was just very underprepared coming into this mystery track. I mean, drivers at this level should have setups available for, you know, any circuit, any time, any place, so they can handle these mystery events. But Mad Dogs, I mean, to be fair, 28.4 is actually a lot better than what I was expecting, but still 1.6 seconds off of his teammate. Yeah, just absolutely nowhere. His teammate Uncle Tony Reich has retired from the front. FRT have a 2-3 as Adrian goes third. Really solid lap.
Yeah, following Quantum at the moment as well. We've got other people on laps as well, but Quantum is going to be the one we keep an eye on. He's found half a second in the first sector, which will put him back in front of Uncle Tony himself as he tries to sort of maintain this lead and maintain his sort of 100% record at the moment here. Does Tony Reich for GT10. again. Checkered flag now out. Other lap times are going to be coming in. I believe what the other McLaren of Passe will be hoping he can get in front of Mad Dogs. He comes across the line right now. Will he improve? He does actually beat Mad Dog, so it will be a GT10 sandwich as it stands. But the question is, will Quantum be the olive on top of this sandwich and beat Uncle to the line? Now, Adrian has improved while we were talking there as well, and actually made it an FRT 2-3, but will it be a 1-3 at the moment here, as Quantum losing the rear ever so slightly? His second sector split was only 8 thousandths up, so looking to be a bit under pressure as Epic Veil comes across the line, beats Adrian there. RSC now looking a little bit more confident. Will Quantum be able to beat Uncle, or will it be Calamitous for GT10 as he comes across the line? He has beaten him as well by about a tenth of a second, so Quantum and FRT are on pole. Adrian will not be improving. Dirk will not be improving as it stands. In fact, he won't be improving at all in this one. RSC will be hoping RW06 can get at least one person on the front row. Nico comes across the line for Ventauri to go P4, which is a great effort. Adrian now down to P5. RW06 getting a horrible exit out of 17. Well, that cost him. It has done. He's equaled his fastest lap with a 27.147, so no improvement from him. Volakongan could really do with getting up there here, because SCI are going to be losing ground as it stands through Epic Veil and RW06. Can he at least out-qualify him? Oh, he will. He'll go to P4 and actually put Epic Veil under pressure on that second row. So as it stands, I don't think we're going to be getting any improvements from Mad Dogs. Quantum is the what was it that I said now? The olive on top of a GT10 sandwich, with Uncle in P2, Mad Dogs in P15. Down at the back, of course, Esco, Ryder Dahl, Azim, Phil, and the Bards have decided, obviously can't take part in this qualifying session. We will be committing to the restart, but it won't matter for Quantum because he's on pole, and FRT have got a chance of capitalising on a really decent performance here.
Half Italian, I love an olive, I love that lap. Well done to Quantum, who snatched it back, his rightful spot in tonight's Singapore hierarchy in qualifying. You've got to say on it from the word go, without any sort of significant practice for anybody this evening. So well played to him. That's FRT's, I believe, 5th pole position of all time, and their 2nd of the season, dating back, of course, to round 1 this season, where David took it for FRT in the F2 cars. Quite a big field spread, especially those at the bottom are qualifying for them to forget. I think they're just a little bit lucky that, well, we had 5 qualifying bans. They are massively been inflated up the order. But other than that, close battle between Quantum and Tony Reish. I think that will firmly continue going into this race.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to take some screenshots of those results, because my screen has unfortunately gone black, so no commentary on that one. All we do know is Quantum is definitely on pole for this one. There will be a restart, which gives us a very quick chance again to review what happened last time out at the Mexico City Grand Prix. So Enzo and Monza managing to get the 1st and 3rd place respectively for RSC to close up the gap, with Snack separating the pair of them and at least putting some damage limitation on. Matteo finishing in P4 for ETA is a decent result for him, especially considering ETA8's form is through the floor at the moment. Otsazito for AMR is a decent result for P5, but with the Ivan Eskrid down in P12, they've lost ground to the likes of RSC and SCI, so that will make for a very interesting affair going into this Grand Prix. David rounding out in P11 for him in that one is the sort of final result. If you want a quick reminder of the stewarding inquiries from this one, what we do have an understanding of here is, in this situation, Simai for RSC was actually promoted up to P3 because of Otsazito being demoted to P5 in this one. Gavroche was promoted to P8 in this one. Diego promoted to P9 and David promoted to P10. Leon was obviously instated to P11 after he retired as soon as he came across the finishing line in this one. Ivan Eskrig demoted to P12 as a result of that one. Of course, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th all retired as a result of that one as well. There was a few incidents that were appealed, but they all remained as they were instructed. So, situation report for this one, Joseph D'Ambrosio, is that as a result of that one, IRT needed to serve a one-person qualifying ban rather for the event, of course, and Phil has taken that one. Qualifying bans for FST and ET8 for different reasons. No doubt you've documented those. Mad Dog serving a 3+ grid penalty won't matter for him because, of course, he starts at the back anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, such silly reasons for the qualifying bans. 12:30 this afternoon, double qualifying ban for ET8 due to an edited lineup. Yeah, you know, it's quite easy to be caught for just even editing the message, and that has always been a straight double qualifying ban. They knew that, and FST didn't disclose the correct number of races that their drivers have raced in, and there is evidence of that in the World Information Chat as well. Yeah, just silly admin errors for both teams' ends, and especially from ET8. You know, how many seasons have they done now? FST is a little bit more understandable. It's their first time, they'll learn from it, but it seems like ET8 never do.
Yes, these kind of admin errors are not needed when you are a title hunting team. So, yeah, very critical mistake, that one as well. Thank you to every single one of you tuning in for this event. We'll be taking a very brief break as we get the lobby set up. And it should be an absolute cracker of a Singapore Grand Prix. Don't go away. Welcome back then, folks, to WOR and the Legacy Division. We are just about getting going for the main race ahead of us at Singapore. Of course, it has been a little bit of a wait as we just get all the lobby set up for this one, and 31 lap race ahead of us for what will be, no doubt, a very, very interesting set of events ahead of us. It is myself, James Otto Jota, alongside Joseph D'Ambrosio, Joseph F1, for what will be, no doubt, a very inquisitive event here. Of course, it is not known for its overtaking as Singapore, but it is known for its patience, and so far, patience a virtue for FRT and Quantum, who is on pole tonight.
Yeah, and a good omen as well. 3 of our 4 Singapore races have been won from pole when we have descended upon this city in the past. Can anybody name them? Well, I can, if you don't want to go and have a look for yourself. Otis Lawrence back in Season 1, won from pole position. Nando Jr. in Season 3 and Joe Murphy in Season 5. That's when we ran all of the available circuits on the F1 calendar. This one has been randomised, some more prepared than others than we've already seen in qualifying this evening. But yeah, certainly an exciting one for Quantum to get stuck into early here.
Yeah, Quantum could make it a race victory from pole for seasons 1, 3, 5 and 7 in Singapore if he wins it here tonight. Worth making note, administration challenges for ET8 and FST means both of their drivers are serving a qualifying ban tonight, and an eclipsion of the number of penalty points required for IRT means Phil will be serving a qualifying ban. Mad Dogs will be serving a 3-place grid penalty, but he starts from the back anyway for this race, as GT10 Tony will be starting in P2, otherwise known as GT10 on-call. So that's the situation as we now go over live. We are probably going to get going for the situation ahead of us here. What is the predicament here, Joseph? Very quickly, because we no doubt these drivers will be very keen to get going with this one. Singapore, not known for its overtaking, no more for its patience, but definitely a little bit of a spread, we have to say, of talent here tonight.
Well, remember that you are allowed to use hards again, so we'll see those back in play for sure. Likely to be a one-stop strategy with the hards. A really quite robust tyre around here, and no need for 2 sets of mediums. But I was just saying before we came back on air, Adrian coming in for his debut here for FRT this evening at the young age of 13 of his Discord bio is anything to believe. Yeah, he's got a huge role to play. Can he get in and around those drivers around? Well, certainly Quantum at the front of the field. Tony Reich, Efik Vale, Volakonga, Nico, Dirk behind him, Fana Spinoda as well. Some of the big names he's got to try and contend with in there as well. Can he cause them a little bit of disruption and help Quantum through this race? An interesting storyline to look out for, certainly.
Yeah, certainly not looking at all to relegate himself down the field like Sheffield Wednesday relegated themselves down to League One not too long ago. Still sad about that, by the way, but as a Leicestonian fan yourself here, Joseph, it's obviously one that we're both kind of feeling at the moment here, but the drivers will try not to have that feeling around the circuit here tonight. We should be getting going in just a few short moments time here in this race here. I reckon probably about 15 seconds before we're getting going with this race. Very quickly, Joseph, any firm favourites?
I'm backing Quantum to win from pole, but also I think Tony Reich is going to take it all the way. Certainly a last lap battle if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, Harm firmly believes in chat that we've got FST last to first. We've got Oscar saying hello Volakongan, as always, of Volakongan supporting Army around here tonight. Jaden as well in the chat for ET8 as well, making a few comments in chat as well. Thank you very much for being alongside us for this one here, saying that AMR wasn't really cooking. They haven't actually in this event. That's going to be one to keep a very firm eye on to see if the race is going to be any better for them at the moment, as well as we've got other people making note of drivers that are no longer part of teams as a race winner here tonight. I think Joseph will know what I mean by that one. We are getting going in just a few short moments for this race ahead of us here. Looks like it isn't as close as 15 seconds. We'd love to have a timer up at the top. Unfortunately, we don't get that luxury anymore. We haven't had that luxury for a few seasons, to be honest with you, a few game cycles. Hopefully they will get that back in for us, because it is kind of handy to have that in here. We can at least get some kind of guidance as to what is going to happen. Question for you: FST, IRT, qualifying ban, and bans for them, as well as ETA. ETA, we don't really know their pace for this one, do we?
No, not a clue.
We'll get straight on with it. And I say, I can't have that perfectly timed here for the Singapore Grand Prix. A mystery circuit goes unresolved, but it will be resolved shortly. No more waiting. Let's go racing then here in Singapore then. Quantum leading from pole as Uncle's trying to get in the mix here, but actually getting overtaken as he goes side by side with Epic Fail. Will he be able to defend from this one? Potentially down the inside or around the outside where the traction is going to be. They remain side by side here. Do GT10 and the RSC man of Epic Fail, but he's going to have the advantage going into the corner. But will the GT10 man hold on? Don't worry about that debris. That is not legitimate. Volakongan also trying to get in the mix as well for P4. Well, we've got Van der Spinoda overtaking Dirk as well for P7, P8 as it stands. Here comes a little bit of a defensive effort here as they continue side by side at the moment. Do Epic Fail and Tony Reich here. Switchback opportunity for the GT10 man. Is he going to be able to get his car still in there in the end? He's going to have to just reject that position has gone. Very, very good racing from the front of them, as well as GT10 relegated to P3, but they'll still be happy with that one. We're just following Nico in the mix as well, as he's got overtaken by Volakongan. Really good start for Volakongan up in P4 for him, as Adrian tries his best at the moment for FRT to earn some big points on the board here. A good opportunity for FRT, P1, P6 respectively.
Yeah, indeed. Mad Dogs and Riders out side by side again, banging wheels on the exit of turn 13, through the kink and down in towards 14. These are the two that are now side by side in their own little battle. Nicely left some room there, did Riders for Mad Dogs on the apex, but in the end Riders does manage to squeeze through on the outside. Are we going to see any lunges here? Yes, we are, from Van der Spinoda. Adrian has to take to the runoff area. He rejoins ahead, and rightly so, as Van der Spinoda was quite aggressive with that one. Quantum, though, would have been watching his mirrors, his virtual mirrors, throughout the entirety of that first lap, hoping for potentially a bit more of an argy-bargy moment between two of the people looking to take him a long distance and have a great battle with him in this race. Van der Spinoda back up into 6th. He did manage to get past Adrian, who slips to 7th.
Yeah, Adrian deciding actually to give the position up to Van der Spinoda, so he believes the dive was perfectly legitimate and didn't want to potentially risk it. As we see something towards the back there, I believe between the likes of Phil, Esco and RWO6. Look at this little scrap happening. This is the battle for the scraps of points. Of course, P15 gets you that one solitary point as RWO6 is trying to race with Esco here. Is Phil going to go for the dive to make it 3 wide through here? No, he doesn't. It'd be very, very risky to do that one. But on the hard tyre, looking like he's going to get so go for the long haul here, does Phil. So he doesn't want to get into too many scraps and risk any kind of damage, as we've still got people down towards the back. Ticho having a horrible race, now down at the back behind Passy at the moment here for BRC. He's trying to race, but currently the AMR man, P3 in the standings overall. AMR now going to be getting Neil Poir regardless of this overtake, as he tries to get it done on Passy, but Passy very happy to hold on to the position on the hard tyre as well.
Yeah, Ticho went around, I think, at the first corner, but since has managed to claw back into the train, so it's not all doom and gloom for the AMR man. Can he get the switch back here? Certainly looking for it. Passy still managed to get some DRS, and so effect of the slipstream neutralised. Can he get out the inside here? Ticho! Oh, there was room for him. Nicely left the door open there, did Passy. You could see it coming, but in the end, this is just becoming frustrating for Ticho. He's now slipping away from that train he worked so hard to catch in the opening couple of laps. His teammate Tiago on the hard tyres, the first of our 3 hard runners this evening. He's holding firm in P10 at the moment. He's trying to keep within touching distance of the DRS train, spanning 1st through 9th.
Yeah, DRS detection points is just after turn number 3, and in that scenario, Tiago is actually out of it, so that's going to allow potentially DMAT into the mix as well. This is the BRC man on the hard tyre. Again, a little bit uneasy on the curbs, we think, then, from AMR's Tiago, who's got a very, very low car in terms of ride height here. Both AMR drivers looking like they've got very low ride height here tonight, and it keeps catching them off guard, but Tiago able to defend from DMAT, but unfortunately for him, already now 2 seconds back from the back of the gearbox rather of Mulder in this one. So it's a DRS train falling from 1st to 9th and then from 10th down to 17th as Phil is trying to hold on to the back of the RSC man of RW06. The fastest, stay true man, the fastest driver on circuit at the moment is Esco, down in P15 at the moment, still holding on for that solitary point against the RSC man of RW06 as DMAT is trying to get this move done, and a massive amount of overspeed in comparison to enter the back of Tiago. Ryderdal tries to get past Tiago, but the ET8 man will be holding on for P12 as it stands.
Yeah, Tiago's just got to stay focused in this one. It'll be very easy to lose it once a lot of cars start queuing up to overtake him. That's exactly what's happening here. Further forward, Tony Reich has been putting a little bit of pressure on Epic Vale. He's certainly been a lot closer than anybody in this front train with regards to the dirty air situation. Within 2-3 tenths constantly down this back straight, but again, there's just absolutely no way he can get past. So Epic Vale is biding himself some time here, leaving a gap to Quantum. And certainly it's helping him defend as well. They had a great race on the opening lap and into the wall. Sorry, it was lag. Apologies. Epic Vale went into the wall on my screen. But of course, he's still pointing in the right direction. So fingers crossed, that's another sign of things to come, but Epic Vale still in second.
Well, remember, he did disconnect from qualifying earlier on in this race, so if Epic Vale's internet quality proves to be a bit of a challenge, they could end up in a little bit of trouble, could RSC. Now, that situation actually caught Uncle napping a little bit, because, of course, he wasn't expecting a driver to suddenly just be braking right in front of him. Now, thankfully, the ghosting system took effect, so we don't think the Grand Track 10 driver has got any damage to his front wing as a result of the ghosting coming into play, but he'll be very wary of the scenario with Epic Vale, because if he keeps having lag spikes like that one, there is a real risk he could disconnect. And obviously racing with someone with that kind of internet connection challenge does prove to be more of an issue. So if Uncle Tony has got anything to go by, he'll want to try and get past Epic Vale as quickly as he possibly can. His problem, though, he can't harvest any energy at the moment. He's really using his energy very aggressively at the moment, and that's finding himself to be in a little spot of bother on the main straights.
You can get away with it around here because the straights are separated by pretty heavy recharge zones, so you always find yourself having enough to just deplete what you've got left down these straights. But the problem is everyone's doing it. Everybody is hitting the recharge point at the same point down the straights, and it makes overtaking very difficult indeed, but not for Tony Reich, who takes him out at turn number 7, turn 8 I should say. Well, that might be our first obvious stewards inquiry of the evening, but certainly questions to be answered about that one. Was it ever on? Was he far enough alongside? All the usual questions. And well, fact of the matter is, Quantum's got a huge lead.
Yes, he does. There's a gap of 1.7 now as Tony Reich promotes himself back up to P2, but potentially in controversial circumstances. I've got no doubt that our viewing stewards in the chat are going to say slam dunk, and there it is, Lawrence, exactly saying those exact words, funnily enough, saying slam dunk for the Tony Reich, who will probably put his hands up to say, yeah, that's entirely on me on that one. But it is very difficult to race side by side, in fairness, and to be fair to Tony, to a certain extent, Epic definitely made that door very narrow indeed, but in the end, at the end of the day, if you're going down the inside line, you've got to show that the dive is perfectly legitimate, and I think GT10 have potentially got a case to answer for in this one. Lap 6 of 31, we have already had a very small amount of laps go by, but plenty of action up and down the field, to say the least. Vola Congan trying to close down on Tony Reich, who doesn't matter if you are the fastest driver on field, if you get involved in an incident like that one, you've got to have a few laps to try and shake it off.
Yeah, Epic Vale still in a very good position, up in the top 5. He'll say in his head, net P4, give him a penalty already. And yeah, certainly he'll be being told by the RSC crew, just calm down, mate. Still a long, long way to go in this one. P2 is in fact still in your sights, and you've got the pace to go out there and prove it. So yes, still a very good position indeed for him. On his lap 6 of 31 of our mystery Singapore Grand Prix. It's gone absolutely perfectly so far for Quantum, who has a 2-second lead. Everyone else behind him very much in a DRS train, all the way down to Tiago, who I've not checked in on him in a little while. He's held on to 10th ever since he was overtaken by Mulder. So yeah, his tyres coming into this one now, we might expect to start clawing in some of those lost seconds.
Yeah, question for you here on this one. If you are an FRT driver, if you are an SCI driver to a certain extent, and certainly if you're a Ventauri driver, you are smiling ear to ear because your teammates are pretty close by. So big points haul opportunities for these people here. SCI lesser so, but definitely a lot better than the likes of AMR and certainly GT10 at the moment, because GT10 second and 14th respectively. If you are a Ventauri fan, you're 4th and 6th. If you are an SCI fan, you're 3rd and 8th. If you are, though, of a RSC fan, you're currently 5th and 16th at the moment. So really wide berth for those teams that are at the front of the field in the constructors standings, but SCI probably the ones benefiting the most, but only just really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, assuming there might be a penalty, Volokongan is in P2 again, and that would be a 4th P2 in a row for SCI. That would eclipse their Season 5 run of 3 P2s in a row, so setting new records as they go along here. Even though they aren't winning races at this moment in time, they are still putting in bloody good records to be proud of. Pardon the French there on that one, but yeah, certainly you are happy if you are either of those teams, and indeed FRT as well. They need a result to potentially jump Ventauri this evening. They've got a good start on that front, only 4 points separating them. AMR down the order. I don't think they will be hoping to jump RSC this evening, but certainly some movement in the championship, and conscious ones that the teams will be thinking about.
I'm just keeping a very firm eye on the scenario down in P11 at the moment, because DMAT is about to leave the DRS territory of Tiago at the moment, as we start to see our first pit stops coming in, as Epic Vale has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which makes his race go from bad to worse. Gets involved in a collision with Uncle Tony Reich and then speeds into the pit lane. Disappointing stuff for the RSC man, whose race, let's be candid at the moment, not looking particularly strong, with RWO6 down in P12, was P16, of course, before the pit stops applied. Volokongan also in, Van Spinoda in, and Ryderdal also in as well. I'm keeping a firm eye on Azem at the moment, as the ET8 driver of Armateo in the chat, just making a point. All of that collision, all of that incident with the likes of Epic Vale, only to not really gain on Quantum at the moment.
Yeah, quite right. And of course, that would be the most frustrating point, certainly for Epic Vale, excuse me, but the penalty's got 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lanes. He's now overtaken by Van Spinoda. Of course, no DRS there, so now he has to sit behind another car that he was ahead of. So, yeah, certainly some frustrations creeping in, and whatever penalty he's just got there, it might be, in fact, worse than what Tony Reich gets. So, yeah, certainly nothing to smile about anymore in the RSC camp. Now, some of this race rests on RWO6, who is absolutely stuck at this moment in time, of course, in the train, being led by Tiago and Co on those hard compound tyres. Saying that, Azem has passed DMAT for P8. We will see any respondents coming into the pit lane on this lap. Yes, we do. The second Ventari man of Nico heads into the pit lane.
Yeah, Azem also in as well. No surprises on this one, to try and match alongside his teammate Ryderdal in this one as well. Nico said also in the pit lane. So we've got a little bit of scrapping potentially starting to brew here amongst people leaving the in the battle between Mad Dogs and Esco in this one. RWO6 having a horrible race at the moment for RSC, just purely because he's stuck, as you said, in this situation. I'm also keeping a firm eye on the undercut strategy here. Volokongan has worked an absolute treat for him as he gets out in front of both of the Ventauris, but look at this one, a nice little switch from Van Spinoda and from Nico in this one, allowing them to just hold Epic Vale back. Perfect positioning as Epic Vale overdriving the car, smashing it into the wall. The RSC man finding that he's getting a little bit frustrated from what has been a valiant team performance, to be honest with you, from Ventauri in this race so far. Very, very interesting performance from them at the moment, as they now maintain their race pace. Out of those that have made their pit stops, of course, Volokongan leading the way, trying to close down on Passy Gap around about 9 seconds. A critical set of situations now for ET8. Ryderdal is 8.2 behind Epic Vale at the moment, and with Azim just tucked in behind, he has got to be the lead car that works with the ET8 man to try and close up on the field with the use of DRS.
Yeah, certainly got to work together, but with the DRS straights being quite short, going to interrupt myself. Quantum is in the pit lane, just for reference. He pits at the end of lap number 9 in this race. Yeah, certainly with how short the DRS straights are, though, and that the overspeed isn't quite hard to achieve, it's going to be difficult for the both of them to, slingshot past each other and try and make gains here. It may well just be one after the other in this situation. So, yeah, certainly they've got to make a decision about who is the lead car as Quantum exits the pit lane.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close, this one, as Quantum leaving the pit lane. He has been overtaken by Volakongan on an undercut. It's absolute perfection from SCI. They've committed to that undercut, but the question is will those tyres go the distance, and will the tyre delta effectively come back to Quantum? Sorry to interrupt, Joseph.
No, not at all. It's absolutely fine. Quantum, though, 2-lap advantage on those tyres. We know Volakongan can stretch them the distance. That's not a problem. If you saw back to Mexico last week where we banned the use of this compound, yeah, the 1 and 2 lap tyre deltas were massively significant. We all know that by now on this game. So he's still going to be there, but how many laps is it going to take him to re-overtake the Norwegian driver?
Yeah, will the Norwegian driver feel the pressure at the moment of Quantum, of course, with the tyre delta not that significant? Here's another DRS train forming, involving the likes of Passy, Ticho, Phil, excuse me, RWO6, GT10s, Mad Dogs and Esco leading the way at the front. The FST man just trying to get back to the DRS of DMAT at the moment, but finding he's under a significant chunk of pressure, using that overtake button to try and get back within the DRS. But he's going to find that the lack of electrical power is not going to allow him DRS off of the back of DMAT, so I think there will be a pit stop imminently, and that is exactly what Esco is doing. GT10 have told Mad Dogs to stay out, so he will continue the DRS train of him, RWO6, Phil, Ticho and Passy in this one. Mulder, DMAT and Esco making their pit stops. No doubt people are going to get the jumps. No challenge whatsoever. Just keeping an eye on Epic Vale. Remember that 10-second penalty for him. It's just holding off for the back of Ventauri, using the Ventauri DRS to try and stay within somewhat of a touching distance, but being a DRS train with a 10-second penalty whilst everyone else has kept it clean is, well, shall we say, challenging.
Yeah, definitely so. Just lingering over his head. Somebody said in the live chat, Lawrence Epic might as well just retire, especially with his internet. I wouldn't say that so soon. With a safety car, you can effectively serve it free of charge. Yeah, you'll just drop to the back of the field, but there's certainly points still to play for here this evening. And RSC in that championship fight with SCI. Yeah, they need him to go the distance. They need him to hang this one out and see what damage they can certainly limit from this race. SCI Dirk putting some pressure on Adrian, who's doing a mighty fine job in his first race for FRT here this evening in keeping one of the quickest drivers on the grid behind him. That's not to say Adrian isn't quick. He's just doing so well under the pressure that he finds himself under. It's a big jump coming into the Legacy Division for your first race. He's doing a very good job at the moment, and a mature one as well. Think back to that Fanas Benoda incident, just handling it well, letting him back through when there was any doubt over the penalty. It's exactly the sort of level head FRT need.
Yeah, very wise old head on young shoulders for Adrian as well. 13 years old is the man, that's showing that he has got some serious pace to stay in front of the likes of Dirk. But plenty of undercutters working their treats against Adrian and Dirk, as Mulder also going to get the undercut on these drivers. I think he will do in this one, as he now splits both of the drivers will split him and Dirk, gap around about 0.7 of a second. Ideally, Dirk could have done with being a bit closer to Epic Fail in that scenario, but now he's got a couple of people who are in a sort of similar position as well. But Azim and Rydal could have done the best that he can here, as you've seen something.
Quantum's overtaken Volakongan, and that's come at the exit of turn 7, so whether they were going side by side down that whole straight, and my eyes failed to recognise their change on the timing tower. There you go. Quantum has taken 2 laps to re-overtake Volakongan, and there was the answer to my own question.
Yeah, got a bit off guard by that one as well. Usually I'm a little bit more on it, but we weren't expecting, let's be honest, Quantum to be that quick in comparison to Volokongan on 2-lap fresher tyres, though they're only 4 and 2 laps old respectively. So, yeah, particularly interesting scenario, but Quantum now the net leader of this race. Uncle finally in for his pit stop as well. It's Tony Reich for GT10. Bitterly disappointing that he couldn't capitalise on holding on to P2, so he's had to navigate his way to P3, but he's committing to a heavy overcut in comparison here, so hoping that his tyre delta is going to be significant towards the end of this race, but as a result, you'll see him tumble down the standings. He will go. Quantum, Volokongan, Van Espinoda, Nico, Epic Vale, Mulder might get in the mix as well. No, he won't on this scenario, so Epic Vale might be the last person to overtake the Tony Reich himself. Means that he's down to, what's that, a P2, 3, 4, 5, P6 overall, but a significant tyre advantage will help him towards the end of this race.
Yeah, it will do indeed, as we've seen an overtake. Phil overtaking RWO6, who slides quite significantly on the exit of turn 7. Those medium tyres struggling and on their last legs. These two know that they will drop to absolutely plumb last in this one. Quantum there overtaking Passy with ease again at the same corner, where he dispatched Volokongan a lap ago. Now, Volokongan is going to be stuck in quite an awkward part of the circuit to try and overtake the McLaren himself. What do you think about the was it the Felipe Nasser lunge, the drift coming over the Anderson Bridge? No, not quite. Quite a spectacular move all those years ago, but Quantum's got a fine exit and overtakes Ticho as well. That's 2 of these back markers dispatched on the same lap. It's such efficient driving.
Well, Volokongan is still struggling to get past Passy at the moment, so he's got a nice set of 2 cars to split them at the moment here. Now, surely a dive bomb for Volokongan is going to be needed, but you know what? It wasn't clean, and Passy is going to defend it, but he's going to get switched back, no issue. Is Passy going to have to dive into the pit lane? No, he will not. He's going to defend it here by the looks of things as he goes through to turn 1, but he hasn't got the grip in the end, electing not to battle for that one, as Quantum has put another car in front of him and Volokongan now, because of course the overtake has been done against RWO6. Mulder with the fastest lap of this race, down P11 at the moment. Quantum is flying out there at the moment. Technical circuits are sort of his repertoire here, Quantum, and Singapore is the broad definition of a technical circuit, as he now puts 2 cars between him and Volokongan. Is Volokongan going to get any move on RWO6? He will not, so the gap will still be a 2-car deficit for Volokongan. He's losing time hand over fist to Quantum, who's on fire at the moment.
Yeah, it's not just the 2-car deficit, it's the DRS deficit as well. If he struggles until the end of the lap to get past, Quantum will be 2, maybe 3 seconds up the road. I wouldn't rule it out, and that effectively runs Volokongan's immediate chance of victory very, very short. Again, Mercedes bumping and bouncing over the curbs here, struggling on the medium tyres. We saw him have 1 tank slacker already. Needs to put the throttle down nice and early, Volokongan. He has done, but will RWO6 fight this one? You think he might do, as a direct rival to STI, but he doesn't. He just thinks about his own race, which was quite sensible on that occasion. But look at the gap between Phil and Quantum now, almost 2 seconds. Volokongan still has to get past Phil.
Yeah, and while that was happening as well, Epic Vale has just been overtaken by Uncle Tony Reich. So this time a lot more cleaner on this scenario here, as Epic Vale doesn't look like he wants to challenge him too aggressively. RWO6 finally in the pit lane. He'll fall very low down in the standings as a result of the very late call for the hard tyres. Nearly a 50-50 race actually for RWO6, so he's going to have a significant tyre delta, but will it be of a benefit to him, as Tony Reich going side by side but getting up on that curb with Nico, and as a result just hitting into his side. Is Tony Reich going to battle for this one? He will. He'll get the move done on him as Van Espinoda gets past Passy. No issue whatsoever, so Uncle will be hoping that he could get this move done as quickly as he can on Passy. We've seen a few overtakes at 8 and 9 if this one works a treat, in the end electing to go side by side and getting the move done on Passy. Looks like Passy didn't really make it too hard, but a great overtake nonetheless from Tony Reich, who now closes up the gap to Van Espinoda, and Van Espinoda will be wanting to make overtakes hand over fist at the moment, but so far Tony Reich's luck is so strong. And look at that one again, trying to get the move done because he felt the pressure of Tony Reich. Now Tony's boxed in, but he's still going to complete this overtake anyway. They're going 3 wide into the corner here, side by side they will go, and while Van Espinoda thought P4 was his, he's back down in P5 again.
Yeah, fair play, Tony. That was absolutely terrifying. I don't think it ends at that, though. Will Van Espinosa respond? No, he won't, but Tony went to the right-hand side. Van Espinosa also jolted right in an attempt to overtake Phil, and that almost ended in a 3-car airplane crash. So how they've got through that one unscathed, I don't know, but Tony Reich now needs to get some sort of pace and string it together here. He's got Volakonga to overtake. He might still fancy his chances of trying to catch Quantum a little bit. He's got a penalty potentially lingering over his head. There is still room for an unlikely podium finish here this evening, depending on what goes on behind him. But now it's just full send. He can make those tyres last. He's on some of the youngest on the grid. Can he pull off quite the miracle?
5 laps is the difference between Uncle and Volakongan at the moment, and you can see the tyre delta already working an absolute treat. Uncle's 1.2 seconds behind Volakongan, only a few corners to go. It's now 3/10. He's flying out there at the moment, and probably one of the fastest men on circuit is Tony Reich. Now he's got to get this move done against Volakongan quickly if he wants to try and put Quantum under any kind of pressure. Gap around about 3 seconds. Clean air and a significant tyre delta is exactly what Tony Reich needs. It's exactly what the doctor ordered. As now with the DRS available, it looks like to me Volakongan is not going to battle this one at all. As Uncle gets the move done, he's now up into a prospective P2, but the gap around about 3.2 seconds. Let's see how quickly Tony Reich can get that one down against Quantum and put the man who is looking like the firm favourite for this race victory under some kind of pressure with 15 laps to go.
Yeah, just going to inspect the lap times, and well, 31.4 was Tony Reich's attempt on lap 14, 31.6 last time around. That's 1.2 seconds quicker than Quantum on the previous lap. Granted, did have slipstream DRS and was making an overtake, but that is really, really strong pace. And can it last for just a few more laps? Because he'll be on him in no time if that's anything to believe. Quantum might just think about conceding it due to the situation with penalties. Side by side between Phil and Adrian. It was almost a pinch point on the apex of turn number 4, but turn number 5, sorry. But Phil staying behind there, more like Adrian making the overtake on the Sauber, who has 16 lap used hard tyres at this moment in time. But yeah, keep an eye on this pace now in clean air for Tony Reich.
AMR Tiago still yet to make his pit stop, by the way. He started on those hard tyres. He'll be taking them probably best part of around about another 3 or 4 laps before switching back over to the medium tyre. But the tyre delta is going to be significant, and the overtakes will be certainly possible for him. So following Quantum, gap now 1.4 to the back of Tiago. Between him and Uncle, 2.2. It was about 3.3. So in around about 3/4 of a lap, he's actually found about 1.1 seconds at the moment, as Tony Reich is flying out there at the moment. Is the Haas runner representing by Grand Track 10. A little bit of a mistake coming out of the penultimate corner, but looking regardless very strong indeed. Should go purple or be very close to purple at the moment for the Grand Track 10 man. 2.3 the gap between him and Quantum, as Quantum is trying to get past Tiago as quickly as he possibly can. He does not want to be caught at the back of Tiago while Tony Reich has got this pace at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll lose another couple of tenths here, but saving grace here immediately. Well, I was going to say some slipstream, but certainly DRS for Quantum as he blazes past the Ferrari there. And now, well, I reckon Tony's going to catch him at the back end of this lap, so perhaps not much of a better situation for him. If he can just latch onto some DRS, then still will be a very, very good lap potentially for Tony Reich in the on-track battle for victory. Lap 18 of 31, Volakonga now in his own little world, leading the two Venturi cars in 5th and 6th, but on the back of them, let's not rule out Mulder for a top 5 finish here this evening. Flying along, another wise old head in the community, certainly proving why.
Certainly indeed as well. So we are on lap 18 of 31, well over half of this race has already been done. And you know what, for a Singapore Grand Prix, this has not been a race that's not been boring, if I'm honest with you, because I was expecting it to be a bit more of a DRS train, and it has been to a certain extent. But we've got a bit of a mistake. I think it might be Epic Vale again. I'm not entirely sure. We've got a yellow flag waving in that area. Was it Epic Vale? It does look like he's got a chunk of his front wing missing.
Yeah, and Dirk has gone into the wall with him, so huge implications then for SCI. Already have a car slipping down the order slowly in Volakongen. Dirk is now going to have to take a pit stop as well. That was a 3-wide crash. They all just lock wheels coming into turn 14, and the rest, unfortunately, is history. Passy comes in as well. I think this is his scheduled pit stop, but he does so in front of Dirk, so at least he'll have some company for the remainder of this race. No front wing change for Patty, he wasn't involved, but Epic Vale and I believe it was Phil, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, Epic Vale has damage. Yeah, there was a third car involved. I didn't quite see who was in the middle of it all, but yeah, a pretty clumsy one from all parties there because, well, is there any need to go 3 wide into the corner all on different strategies?
Yeah, probably not. Welcome to the Legacy Division where everything is a little bit mental, if we're perfectly honest with you as well. Phil doesn't have any damage to the front wing of his car, so if he does, it'll be light damage. We can't see it, but Epic Vale certainly missing an end plate on the left-hand side, or right-hand side for us, the left-hand side for him, so he will be really feeling it throughout the right and left. Well, I think more of the left turns, isn't it, really? You'll see it here as he tries to put the car in. The car, look at that, masses of understeer on Epic Vale's car, which means he's losing more time hand over fist on top of a 10-second penalty. So he could go into the pits and change the front wing, but then he's got to serve a 10-second penalty on top of that. So his race going from bad to worse in what has been actually a pretty poor race, to be honest with you, for RSC. The team's second place in the standings are going to lose a little bit of ground at the moment with Volakongen's performance at the moment, albeit now with Dirk down at the back of the damage is not going to be too significant. AMR's Tiago still in P3, by the way, but with the tyres that he started on, so his position is a little bit out of whack. So AMR's race has been pretty poor as well, to be honest with you. So you know what, for SCI, Volakongen, the sheer consistent tyre whisperer he is, despite the fact he's been on by the standards of what we would expect, as Quantum has just been overtaken by Uncle in this one. Tony Reich is flying out there at the moment on 3-lap younger tyres. You know, Volakongen, for SCI's usual performance, this has been poor from them, but actually they're going to be the biggest beneficiaries out of those in the front three.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, you know, only a P4 for SCI, but RSC nowhere, and will be nowhere once Epic Vale's race is sorted out and accounted for. AMR absolutely nowhere. Tiago still has to pit in this one. Might well be edging towards that punctured territory at this moment in time. Ventari actually might be the biggest gainers from all of this. FRT themselves with another double points finish and potentially a race victory. This title race is going to condense, and again we're looking into next week in Spain and thinking, oh my word, there's about 5 teams we've got to look out for here. So yeah, if things stay as they are, we've got an exciting championship certainly. So everything that's happened is brilliant for the neutral, and a thump up the rear for Phil, who I just happened to be up on board with from DMAT. He's on 10-lap pressure tyres, now looking for an overtake. Wheel to wheel. Phil's going to give him a squeeze because he'll feel a little bit hard done by from that, but DMAT makes the corner fair and square on that occasion. Tiago comes in. What a mental few laps.
Yeah, well, mental few laps indeed now, as we're starting to see the sort of strategy start to stretch out a little bit, and what will be a slight stretch out maybe for SCI at the front of the field, certainly in the midfield. The challenge is going to start brewing. Ventauri are a team that have got a significant margin between them and AMR at the moment, but with that 4th and 5th place respectively, and with AMR absolutely nowhere as it stands with only 1 point to their name, it's going to be very significant in terms of the battle for P3 in the standings. So keep an eye out on how close that gap is going to close. Question coming in as well from people asking the question of when we'll find out about the stewarding penalties. That's from Lawrence. We will get the stewarding inquiry later in the week, and then of course we sort of talk about it in the stream, but no doubt give us a follow anyway on our X page, because all of the information for all of our races are followed up on X at WOR League. We're following Mulder at the moment as he's closing down on the Ventauri team, 4th and 5th place respectively. They have managed this race to absolute perfection, have the Williams Mercedes outfit. With the Gulf Racing colours, they are flying for what will be a big points haul. Might not be a podium, but certainly a big points haul for the English outfit.
Oh, I must say, Joss, this is getting crazy for P8 now. Ryderdow lunged Epic Vale at turn 7 at the end of the back straight. but he got the switchback, even with the front wing. Ryderdale half missed the corner. Now he's got to try and go around the outside.
What a move!
Chicane. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. And that's all he needed to do. Wasn't that hard, was it, Ryderdale? He's done it in style, finally. Now his teammate Azem's going to try and follow him through as well. That was getting really, really frustrating on board with Ryderdale to watch that one. But, yeah, well, he had to get it done. And how? The most unlikely, perhaps, of overtaking spots. Azem, now can he get through here? Will Ryderdale just backing up a little bit when he tried to get away? Because Epic Vale's been a tricky customer, certainly down these straights. He's lost drag on the front wing. That means it's a little bit of a rocket, and just watch as he pulls away there. Even with Slipstream and overtaking Gauge, Azem can't get near.
Whoa.
He jumps to the inside of Ryderdale because he knows he can get back past. This isn't over.
Yeah, it's not over indeed at the moment, but the thing is we know the left-hand turns are becoming a significant problem for Epic Vale due to the wing damage that he has got. You can see there just understeering so badly with that wing damage, which is allowing potentially Azem and even DMAT to a certain extent to get involved in this little battle. And the thing is as well, Epic Vale will start, in that situation, Ryderdale took a big risk because going around the outside through a left-hander with that wing damage could have seen an understeer sort of collision, bit of tyre hooking, and that could have been the end of the race. So it was a very risky overtake, but it was very well managed from Ryderdale, as it looks like DMAT is trying to get on the back of Azem, and Azem is feeling that pressure. He wants to get past Epic Vale as quickly as he possibly can. They've still got DRS available for Epic Vale in this one, so he can still get close, but you'll see here as the car turns left just how much understeer he's getting. In fact, he got a little bit of oversteer on that one as well, so gap of 3/4 of a second. He gets understeer, he's off of the circuit. Look how far off of the circuit Epic Vale is going here to try and keep his foot down on the floor, but in doing so he's getting significant warnings for it. Azem is trying to get to the back of it. Gap now 1.1, so he'll lose the DRS, we suspect now, will Epic Vale, and this should be a relatively clean overtake for Azem to make it an ET8-8-9. It's been a poor race, but in fairness, the qualifying ban cost them dearly, as it looks like Azem's actually not going to go for the dive on Epic Vale. He'll hold station in P10. Is he going to look for it here, I wonder? Is he going to go for the dive? No, once again, Epic Vale able to hold on.
Absolutely crazy defending at this moment in time. Fully within his rights to do so. Let's not kid ourselves here. Epic Vale is doing actually a really good job given what's happened to him in this race. And yeah, the speeding penalty was his own fault, but 2 collisions. The first one certainly wasn't his fault. The second one, he was in the middle of a 3-wide moment, so I can hardly hold him accountable for that one either. But yeah, the crazy race it has been for him. Further afield, well, certainly in the lead, Tony has gapped Quantum in the DRS range, so Quantum now just has to bring this home in a sensible margin. And Epic Vale's out. I stopped watching and they've crashed. Azem's got off as well. There's front wing everywhere. Are we going to see our first safety car of the evening? I don't think so. It stayed away.
I don't know what happened there. I'm just catching up on the replay. It looks like Epic Vale lost the rear. Oh, it's a horrible collision. Yeah, he lost the rear and ploughed it into the wall and caused a horrible situation with the likes of with Azem. So very unfortunate for Azem. But Epic Vale's race going from bad to worse, as RSC are going to be getting just scraps of points while this is happening. We've still got Ticho racing hard at the moment with DMAT as they are tyre hooking through turn number 4, and in that one allowing DMAT to get back in front as RWO6 is trying to get the scraps of points back 3 wide. They will continue to go as they go towards the end of the DRS zone as Tiago tries to go around the outside. He won't hold that position because he definitely took it whilst off of the circuit, but it looks like Tiago's going to try and hold on to it anyway in this scenario, as the RWO6 will be screaming out of the car as DMAT collides into the wall as he tries to squeeze Ticho to the wall, colliding between the pair of them in that one as well, as the AMR have decided to welcome themselves into this Grand Prix, as we're seeing chats going absolutely wild at the moment on Discord. People are angry with what's happening on circuit. Tiago has decided that he's not going to hold back. He thinks he can just recover the 5-second penalty that he might get from the stewards for track extending and gaining an advantage because he's on that fresh medium tyre as he makes easy pickings of the FST man of Esco. He's now up to P9. A gap, though, of 3 seconds between him and Ryderdale.
Whoa, this is what the Legacy division is come to get its reputation for. Its legacy, I should say. That was an absolutely manic couple of laps as M now comes into the pit lane. ETH season themselves going a little bit from bad to worse. One of Matteo's words was shunted it on purpose. Now, of course, that in a championship fight that RSC are in, need to take a bit of care with that one, but if they do feel that strongly about it, then this could be a really interesting couple of days incoming for the Stewarts as they try to reach a verdict on that one. But out in front, what pace for Tony Reish. While all that battling was going on, he's pulled away by about 3 seconds, and I've just not really come to realise it. If it's only a 5-second penalty for Tony Reish, and that was my first instinct in my head, that maybe he'll get away with a 5. Yeah, I mean, 4.5 seconds, I think he's well on course to achieve it, is Tony Reish, and don't rule out that gap going up even more, potentially reaching up to 10 seconds, and that would be quite remarkable if he was to still win this race.
Yes, indeed, as it looks like I'm getting a little bit of criticism from David, who is not happy at all at the moment with my commentary. I'll have a chat with him afterwards and see what's going on, as we've got Uncle leading the way with 5 seconds now. The gap between him and Quantum absolutely flying high at the moment, as well as Nico and Vanna Spinoda, P4, P5 respectively now for the Ventauri outfit. They're having an absolute blinder of a race, aren't they, at the moment? He had big points haul potentially on the cards as they're defending very nicely together against the likes of Mulder and Adrian. Quantum still on for a decent P2 as it stands, but it looks like once again well, Tony Reish is going to be on for a 100% record of race victories, 2 race starts for GT10 at the moment. He's flying high on a younger tyre as well as everyone else.
Yeah, younger tyre indeed. Purple laps to go with it as well, and probably quite enjoying himself. Well, how easy was that? Overtaking Rydal on 13-lap younger tyres as Thiago goes sailing through. AMR have turned this around. They've built themselves a good race car. They've been sensible. They've just been patient in this race, not caused themselves any incidents whatsoever, and are now looking at a pretty strong result, outscoring RSC, which is crucial. They'd need 20 or more to overtake the team in second place in the championship. Of course, Bolon Colgan still holding a lot of weight up in P3 for his point scoring finish. Probably not thinking about that, but certainly a big damage limitation race from where you look where they were in qualifying. It was shocking.
Yeah, absolutely indeed as well. But I want to just give a big shout out to Mulder though in this race. He's managed this race really well as the IRT man, and actually trying to put pressure on the likes of the Ventauri outfit. He might not be able to do so as the team have been working very well, but IRT are on for at least a nice points haul through him at the moment. Phil, in his defence, he had a qualifying ban and he was struggling to maintain his race pace, and it doesn't look like this hard to medium strategy's worked at all for the other IRT man. So Mulder, you know what, on his own, it's a decent points haul for IRT. They've got their own little battle with the BRC team at the moment, and P6 versus BRC, who are only going to be getting 3 points at the moment, is, you know what, no mean feat.
Yeah, you're free on Fridays, Mulder, because I think you'd be a very valuable asset to have back in the top tier of WOR. And that's not my invitation. You'd have to speak to Luke on that one, but certainly proving that he's a brilliant driver in these mystery circumstances, and the driver that we know him all to be. So, yeah, really good job from Mulder. Can he take on now both Ventauri cars with slightly younger tyres to finish in P4 in this race, which for IRT standards this season, yeah, the best result was 6th last week, but it would be a massive step forward in their championship position, and they would jump ahead of BRC, no doubt about it. Right, well, what's this? 4.5 laps to go, 4 laps to go when Tony crosses the line. Yeah, he's about to eclipse 10 seconds. We think 10 seconds is probably going to be the maximum penalty he gets. So, yeah, 7/10 is fine, mate.
It doesn't matter, does it? He could take anyone out of the race and he still wins it. It's unbelievable at the moment, is Tony Reish. Yeah. Absolutely mental drive from him at the moment, and keeping a firm eye on the battle for P10 as well at the moment. Fastest Stay True's Esco is on a 4-lap deficit for the hard tyre versus RWO6 for RSC. As it stands, he's probably the closest we've got to another overtake happening before the end of this race, other than Turk just literally overtaking DMAT, as I say that, in that one as well. So RWO6 trying his hardest to get as close as he can to an overtake against Esco. Struggling a little bit with his electrical energy in this one as well, but as they get as close as they possibly can to a potential overtake, Fastest stay true ideally, especially with a little bit of controversy happening around the team here tonight, could really do with a nice bounce back of a top 10 finish. So they'll be telling Esco to do everything he can to hold RWO6 back.
Yeah, second retirement there, D-Matty in the pit lane.
Whoa.
Coming in the pit lane, side by side, RWO6 and Esco. Another switchback opportunity here at turn 7, maybe into turn 8 as well, but not ever so well. Ooh, hello, who's on the inside? It's T-Show looking to try and make a move now as well. Can he switch back coming into the left-hander here? No, he can't, but certainly looking for the run on the exit now as well. Not going to materialise to anything. Yeah, another case of one of these 5-car battles that once something opens up, everybody just gets involved. And is that rain? Am I seeing things? That is rain.
It is. It's rain. Rain is falling on circuit.
Oh, my word.
Oh, my word. We did not expect that one. Rain has started falling on circuit. Now, we don't anticipate that the rain is going to cause any significance because, of course, it is a circuit where it takes a while for the rain to actually settle down because of the high temperatures. So I wouldn't expect the rain to cause any significance to strategy. But that does add a layer of complexity, especially if you've got an older tyre. So, if anything, this further benefits who else but Tony Reich in this scenario, because of course he's got more grip versus literally pretty much everyone else on circuit that's got a hard tyre other than maybe RWO6 and Ticho are so far behind it makes no difference. So you know what, that helps out the likes of Tony Reich, but definitely for those in that midfield battle, I'm thinking P4 through P7 and P8, I'm thinking the battle for P10 in this one, that's going to open up a whole new world of opportunities over the next couple of laps.
I mean, there are plugins nowadays that you can look at on a computer screen and go, okay, this is exactly when the rain is going to come. So no doubt the engineers did know something about this, but it was just perhaps a question all along of how late this was going to come. I don't think I saw anything from live chat, Discord, anything to suggest there might have been any rain. So it's come as a surprise to perhaps everybody on this grid right now. And, well, if it's going to bucket it down, do it now, because we could have rather a chaotic finish to this one. Tiago's in a great position. He's down the inside of Adrian. It was him in that 3-wide contact. He's missing his end plate on the left-hand side. Needs some traction now, but Adrian lets that one go. And Tiago is up into P7 in a remarkable second stint. And it might only get better for him here. Can he get all the way up into that illustrious P4?
Yeah, very, very good. And a very interesting set of events now for Tiago. Lap 30 of 31 for him on that medium tyre. Track is starting to look a little bit greasy already now, actually. So maybe my call about it not affecting the track too badly actually starting to become a factor here, especially for those on the older hard tyres. Mulder is getting a bucket load of oversteer at the moment. It is that Kick Sauber, and that's probably just due to the inclement conditions that are happening on circuit at the moment. Though, albeit, remember, the circuit is still very hot out there, so I wouldn't anticipate there to be a chance of the intermediate tyre being the better tyre to be on. While that's happening, Mad Dog's now down to P14 as Passy gets the move done, but he did track extend in completing that overtake. So actually GT10 might have a claim not just a 3-second penalty, but a further 5 for gaining an advantage while track extending. Here is this overtake as Tiago's trying to go side by side with Mulder, and Mulder not looking particularly comfortable, but still able to defend from this one. Very good defending indeed, says Joseph Doe and D'Ambrosio with me tonight in this race for the Singapore Mystery Grand Prix. Tiago looking like he's really struggling out there at the moment now as we start to see the inclement conditions become a serious factor. Gap now 13 seconds between Uncle and Quantum here. Luke's going to have to dig deep into the archives of the rule book to try and find more than a 10-second penalty for Uncle versus the collision with Epic Vale, I think.
Down the inside goes Tiago, hit the inside wall, hit the side pod of the Kick Sauber as well. Needs the superior traction, which is found on the medium tyres. Wheel spinning in 5th and 6th gear.
Oh, that's
but
late.
Late on the brakes again is Mulder for the second time in this lap to try and keep the Ferrari at bay. Tony Reich started the final lap. This is still the penultimate lap for these two. Look at the wheel spin. This is incredible driving from the pair of them.
Late.
Up the inside goes Tiago. Mulder needs a miracle to keep him behind this time. And in the end, there was contact. But Tiago had to be forceful. And in the end, he's up into P6 with 2 more positions still at stake. on this final lap.
Oh.
But the rain is coming down so quickly, it's becoming a real challenge, Jota.
Yeah, I don't know what FST are cooking at the moment. They've put Bard in for a set of intermediate tyres. Now, to be fair, it looks like to me that the intermediate tyre is starting to be the better tyre to be on, actually, as everyone is now skating around the circuit here with more people getting time penalties galore. We've got Dirk who's struggling against Passy. Passy goes around the outside of turn number 3 to make that move done. Very easy indeed. It is looking very much as if the tyres now, the better tyre to be on is the intermediate, but the DRS is still available for these drivers at the moment. Look at that big tag slapper. Well held from Mulder in this one as Adrian tries to get this one done. That's late on the brakes in a collision going through into turn 5 and 6. In the end, that move was just not going to happen. I'd be very surprised if Adrian decides to race him for it. He tries to commit to the switchback, but you can see there's just no grip out on circuit here. And it looks like to me as this race continues onwards that the intermediate tyre probably is the better tyre to be on, but it's just a bit too late for the FST man to get any kind of benefit from it. That is for certain. Tiago on a medium tyre is probably going to be the person with the most amount of grip other than Phil at the moment here on these tyres. But the grip, look at this, just getting all of that here. Well, we're saying that one, we've just completely missed Tony Rees, who's just won this Singapore Grand Prix and continues on with his 100% turnout of race wins to race starts with GT10. Quantum finishes in a respectable P2. Volakongan will finish in P3. 10 seconds, over 10 seconds between all the front 4 at the moment as they finish in this race with a cracking victory indeed. Well done to Ventauri, by the way. They have managed this race so well for 4th and 5th place, and the midfield team are going to be closing down buckets of positions and buckets of points at the moment here between them with 4th and 5th place respectively. Adrian finishing in P8 over the line as Radadal and RWO6 rounding out the top 10. Escobar disappointed with P11 in the end. Ticho gets overtaken on the line from Dirk in the end for P12 and 13, with Mad Dogs in 14th and Passy finishing out with the final points haul. Azim will finish in the end just after Passy gets his time penalty applied in P15 to get that final point. Phil will finish in 17th with Bards on the intermediate tyre finishing in 18th place. DMAC retired in the pit lane. Epic Vale had an epic crash in this race. He finishes down at the foot of the field with a DNF. But as said, 100% turnout of race wins versus race starts for GT10. Tony Rees wins the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah, 3rd win of the season for GT10. The team 7th in the standings. That's just quite a remarkable feat going there with how much Tony's points has meant to an otherwise struggling team with everybody else. I think it's fair to say, but yeah, if they can keep him for the rest of the season, then they might still have a chance going into the second half of the season of maybe fighting for this title. I know that's a bit of a stretch. They need others around him to perform, but that's another really brilliant victory from Tony Rees there. Quantum, I don't know where his pace went. I think he just felt like a second a lap slower at points, and I don't think it was entirely down to the tyres. I think there was just a lot of Tony Rees being brilliant in that as well. Volakongan, again, another about as good as a race as he could have done, really. Damage limitation, a 5th consecutive podium for SCI. Fada Spinoda and Nico 4th and 5th. By far Ventauri's best overall team performance of the season, ahead of Tiago there, who tried to do everything. It became a race of Singapore drift there at the end. 3 brilliant laps of car control to witness, but other than that, what an evening it's been for an otherwise pretty lackluster track at times. Well done, Singapore.
Yeah, well done, Singapore, indeed. There is your final race results then. Top 5 being Uncle, Quantum, Volakonga, Fana Spinoda and Nico. I wanted, just before we take a look at the calendar, have a look at the standings pre-Singapore for this race, considering the scenario here, because it has been certainly a race all about the midfielders, of course. So Ventauri have earned a big chunk of points off of the back of RSC and AMR's bad performance, and to be fair, Shizou to a certain extent as well, as have FRT in this one as well. And Grand Track 10, of course, have got the race victory here. And with ET8's relatively poor performance in this one, I have a gut feeling that they're at risk of not even being in 6th place anymore of ETA. It's going to be very interesting to see what the results are after the stewarding inquiries. We'll get a little bit of an update, hopefully, on the standings just before we end the stream here tonight. But looking at the standings prior to this Singapore Grand Prix, it has been a race all about the midfielders tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're quite right, and the ET8 will drop to 7th, which by almost the halfway point of the season. We'll mark that in Spain next week. Oh my God, I can hear someone in game chat. Get out of that lobby. Yeah, there certainly need to be regrouping in that week off that we have after Spain, because it's gone awfully these last few weeks, and there's no other way to describe it. But, other than that, are people really concerned about that victory for GT10 again? Again, it all relies on what the others are doing, because Tony on his own, it's not enough. SDI will still leave that race happy. Dirk recovered to 12th. That's a few more points. RSC imploding with what we saw Epic Vale do. Whether it was on purpose, again, just allegations at this point, but stewarding will tell us what they think of that one. AMR, a good recovery drive, and they keep their run of top 6 finishes going, and that will span the season. Team to be worried about AMR's consistency with their front driver, but everyone else, meh.
Yeah, a big meh to perfectly describe the scenario here as well. I want to give a shout out to IRT in this event actually as well, because you know what, in fairness to them, down at the back, they're in the big scrap with BRC, are both tied on 78 going into this race. A great result from Mulder certainly will put them now up into P8 overall. Fastest Stay True have had a pretty poor performance once again down at the foot of the field. Quick reminder of your calendar then before we wrap it up here tonight. We of course are going into another sense of normality for the Spanish Grand Prix, as we have an F1 sprint race before we take a break on March 17th, the week of my birthday as well, so I'm planning to get rather inebriated to say the least. Belgian Grand Prix F2 cars return on March 24th before we do our final fours race in where else but Las Vegas for the round number 9. And then we've got a trip over to the Saudi Arabia and Bahrain for the reverse championship races in the Middle East, of course, wrapping up then at the United States Grand Prix for the Ban Hard final Ban Hard before we go over to our final mystery circuit, and then the F1 sprint race at Brazil, Sao Paulo. We are just waiting to see if there is going to be any updates on the race results, and it doesn't look like there have been any updates, so we'll keep an eye out on that one. And of course, no doubt there'll be posts from our social media manager Joseph D'Ambrosio, who joins me, James Otter, for what has been a very interesting set of events at the Singapore Grand Prix. Spanish Grand Prix next week should be a cracker of a race here. Expectations is that it should be another mixed bag.
Yeah, it's the closest we've got to normality again, just with the sprint race. We'll have a normal Grand Prix format. So, again, huge expectations for the teams that have failed to pick up big points today, that they need to be doing it in Spain to make a statement before the break week. But if you're new to the Legacy Division, yep, that was our mystery round. That was the most normal thing you're getting until round 13, where we do it all over again. We're back to our rotation of fun, starting with the sprint in Spain.
Yeah, if you can call that normality, then that's certainly one thing to consider. We are in for the Spanish Grand Prix next week, so don't be afraid to tune in. It'll be myself and Joseph, as per usual, for the Spanish Grand Prix. Take care and have a good one. Bye.